You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live. Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Rowlands and I'm joined this evening by Matt Kendrick and John Townley for the post-Newcastle debrief. Watching our sister podcast, the Garibaldi Red podcast, is about Nottingham Forest. The host for that always writes an intro for there. So it's like, Nottingham Forest have done this and they've signed this player. And I thought, I might try my hand at that for this one. But I thought, doing it live, I'll probably mess it up. So let's just skip over the fact that I've written a proper intro for this, but I'm bottling reading it out. I've got some numbers in front of me, which I will look back to at some point. I thought, I just so like buzzing with the result and like, let's ride the crest of the wave of Aston Villa are good again. I can't sit and go, Aston Villa have won three games in a row and blah, blah, blah. So, Matt, how are you? Are you excited and as giddy as I am?
I'm a bit disappointed not to hear your intro. I was hoping it was just going to be Ollie Watkins. Mate, I'm absolutely buzzing. I think I don't know if we should say this. Somebody you were sitting next to said John's going to be in tears with excitement at the end.
The guy
performance as complete as
that.
The
guy on my row as I went in, there's had a few compliments about the Hutton podcast, which I should pass on to you, Matt, because you were the one doing it, saying it's like one of the best podcasts I've listened to and this kind of thing. And the same guy on the way out, he was like, oh, what a result. Can't wait for the podcast tonight. Townley will be in tears. And I thought, what a great headline that is to kind of caption the podcast. Townley's in tears. How are you, John? Any tears tonight?
No, to be fair, I'm a bit all over the place. When did the game finish? Like 2:30. I've been working flat out for the last 3 hours. So I didn't manage to actually get to the game. I was back working at home. So yeah, just crazy. I mean, what's that? 7? Is it 7 and 8 now that we've won? Mm-hmm. Unbeaten in 8. 20.
That's what my intro says.
22 points out of 24, that'll be. And to do it against a team like Newcastle, I feel like every team that we've faced, you would say in our current form, we were favourites to almost win all of those games because they were below us, apart from Chelsea at the time. But we know how poor Chelsea are at the moment. But then to do it against a team like Newcastle, who are one of the best teams in the league, lost 3 times, obviously now 4 times all season, it just proves that we belong in the top 6. We're not just making up those numbers in terms of we're in good form and then we might fall away, whatever it is. It's like, well, actually, no, Villa are here. And we can't fly under the radar anymore because you can't even scroll down on the Premier League table, can you? Like, we're there. You can't avoid us anymore.
There's been a lot of talk this week about a couple of things. A lot of talk about XG, which, John, I know that you're a fan of. That Villa are lucky, Villa are overperforming, it won't last, yada, yada, yada. Whatever you think of XG is up to you. We're winning games. I'm not really bothered what the stats say, to be honest, to a certain extent. And the second side of that is, oh, yeah, but they're only beating teams that you'd expect them to beat. They've only beat teams in the bottom half. Okay. What, do you want us to lose a few games to the bottom half then, just to kind of level your expectations that Villa aren't good enough to win games?
Yeah,
you beat who you play in front of you. We've played 8 games in a row now. We've only dropped points to West Ham, which, to be honest, we could have won that as well. Who cares who the opposition is? And then the kind of counterpoint to that then is that this high-flying Newcastle have come into town today, winning 5 in a row. We've made them look like mugs. It wasn't that, and I hope that the analysis afterwards, I've not seen anything since, isn't Newcastle were bad, Newcastle did this, and Newcastle did that. Villa were very, very good and made them look poor, I thought. Is that how you felt, Matt?
Yeah, I thought it was a controlled performance, and actually, what gave me the greatest pleasure, I think, was the fact that even when we were missing chances, you know, could have been 4-0 up, 5-0 up at half time, but you just knew that unless they came out with the same intensity the first 20 minutes of the second half, that there was potentially going to be a sting in the tail. But they didn't let the standards slip at all. I think genuinely, I don't want to get too carried away because I'm normally the kind of anchor, and that's not rhyming slang. I try and kind of keep our feet on the ground. I can't recall a time where we've dominated a game against a big rival, if you like, a form team in the higher echelons of the Premier League, where we've actually all across the pitch, and I don't think we faltered from it. You know, we missed chances, but we didn't dwell on it. We just the goal that was, I know we'll jump about, we'll go chronologically, but the goal that was disallowed by VAR, that could have been a turning point. That could have got Newcastle going and kick-started them. But Villa were like, okay, roll that one out, we'll score another one.
Yeah. And Ollie Watkins specifically, I know we'll touch on it like you said, but Ollie Watkins, the man, the player, I know he's in great form, but he could think, I'm trying to score in every game here, and I've had that one ruled out. I kind of mope around a little bit, and he just goes, yeah, I'll just score another then. Try and stop me.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I know. I think Watkins got the man of the match, didn't he, from on TV? I think Mings tried to take it off him as he was being interviewed. I thought there were probably pretty much every player on the team were kind of 8 or 9 minimums today. I just thought they were brilliant. And it's the same thing again, isn't it? It kind of set the standards. And we've been saying, haven't we, in previous weeks, that we think that Villa are capable of scoring more goals and giving somebody a battering. I think that was a battering today. And I'm glad that we kept a clean sheet. And, even when we were 3-0 up and the game was won, I think there were a couple of sloppy moments, but generally the discipline was good. It's difficult, isn't it? Because Villa fans, aren't we? So we want people to say, aren't Villa brilliant? And we want the respect of the wider world. But equally, I've loved this kind of sneaking under the radar.
Me too.
Somebody who's gone on holiday for a couple of months and not paid much attention to the Premier League table, to see that Aston Villa are in those heady heights now, they must have thought, what the hell's gone on there? And I'm a little bit like that myself, and I've witnessed quite a lot of it along the way. But it's brilliant. We've waited a long time for this, so we've got to cherish it, I think.
I was fully prepared, even at just 1-0 in the first half, to come on the podcast, even if the game petered out to be a 1-0 or a 1-1 or whatever, to kind of go, I love today. Like, whatever kind of happens in the second half, like, today just felt good. Like, the atmosphere was good. We played some great football. The first half in particular, and the second half was matched, to be fair, but this was my half-time thoughts. That first half is as good a half as I can remember in an Aston Villa game at Villa Park. It's probably my favourite game under Unai Emery at Villa Park, and we beat Man United at Villa Park in his first game there. It just felt so like complete. Like, everything about it was spot on. And the fact it was only 1-0 was that was the gripe. It's like, we could be 2 up, we could be 3 up at half time. Like, that's how good that first half was.
That's where the little demons get you, though, Dan. That's where you can't enjoy it. I said to the bloke next to me after about 89 minutes, I turned to him and I said, I didn't realise it at the time, but I've loved every minute of that. I've only just realised how much I loved it. I wouldn't allow myself to. But it was that relentlessness. It was like, well, we're playing that well. We're not going to come unstuck here. Well, one way or another, we are going to see this through. Magnificent. Just
away from Aston Villa very quickly, although not away from it totally. Tottenham just equalised to make it 2-2 against Bournemouth. And Bournemouth have now scored a third goal in the 95th minute, which is a great result for Villa, for Tottenham dropping points. Obviously, Newcastle dropping points. Brighton did win against Chelsea in the end, but picking up points over these teams that are above us, and we've still got them to play. And we will talk about the kind of aspirations to come for where we might end up, where maybe we are talking about a top 4 finish if we carry on the way we are. It does feel a little bit like, who is going to beat us? I know that's a very cocky, arrogant thing to say, but I've kind of got that air of, who is going to stop Villa? We feel unbeatable at the moment. We feel unstoppable. Ollie Watkins, it feels like he will score in every single game. Like we talked weeks ago about, what will he finish on for his goals target? If he gets to 12, is that a good season? Can he get to 13, 14? Now thinking, when he said a few weeks ago about, I want to finish 20 goals, you go, yeah, right. 7 games left. You might score another 7. I said at one point I thought he might score a hat-trick, and today could have been the one as well, because I've not seen that offside back, but it looked damn tight.
It's very tight.
Yeah, so he's still got loads of goals in him with the form he's on, and so have Aston Villa, and you kind of think, where can we end up here? John, for you, obviously watching on TV, a slightly different experience. Did that feel like the best under Unai Emery so far, the best result?
I think so, yeah. I haven't watched Villa on TV at home for a few years now, so it felt weird looking at Villa Park. It looked brilliant, and the atmosphere come right through. It just all looked so majestic, and you were saying just then about how you almost felt a bit privileged to be there. I was so good to miss it, because it felt almost a bit, again, surreal. I've used surreal a lot over the last few weeks, but that's how it feels at the moment. But the more we beat these teams and the longer this goes on, the longer it becomes almost, well, how far can we go? I do think we are limited in the way that, United and Newcastle, I think, will probably keep out those top 4 positions anyway. Even if you look at the table, we really aren't that far away from top 4, and we play United, and we've just thrashed Newcastle, who were the 3rd best team in the division. Yeah, it
I
was
saw a
just
tweet from somebody else that said Man United still being like every trophy, having injuries to Martinez and Varane, like they could be the one to slip up. And if Villa keep winning and beat Man United, it's not
I don't know.
impossible.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? How are we even having this
Well,
conversation?
yeah,
I don't want to talk about it. It's just crazy to suggest it. I mean, doing this over like an 8-game period is enough, and we've got 7 games left. We're going to have a similar run of form to that. So if we do get Europe, whether it's 7th or 6th or even higher in 5th, if Spurs continue to falter, the amount of the sort of run of games that will be over the course of, what would that be then, 16, 17 games over that period. I know Emery's already had 18 in total, but the sort of records that we're going to continue to break, I've just done a piece earlier saying we've already broken the sort of like the 5-game winning run that we had in 98. We're going to have to break more records to get Europe. So that's just shows how good we are at the moment, and we are unstoppable. And I go back to the point I made earlier of this Newcastle side. We made them look bang average, like really average, and they're not like at all. They're a really good team. They've got top players across the pitch. Luiz, compared to Bruno Guimaraes today, I think he's an excellent player, Guimaraes, but Luiz was just controlling him. He was on top of him. Dendoncker misplaced 1 pass in the whole game. Ramsey misplaced 1 pass in the whole game. Do you know how good that is to do that in the Premier League?
Yeah,
against Newcastle in that sort of game as well. It was high tempo. We kept the ball very well, but it wasn't as if it was a sort of a gung ho approach throughout the whole game. We were, measured and controlled, and that reflected in the sort of stats that I've kind of just said there. But I felt, I know I'm kind of going everywhere here, but in the second half, I felt Newcastle almost gave us that. Didn't give us the second goal, but what Newcastle had to do throughout the game is not let us get that second goal, that opportunity to get it. But I felt that they almost went too far at one stage, and we had that, obviously the Watkins goal, and then 2 minutes later we scored anyway. They made it a third. So I think they went for it too early, because in the first half we were so dominant and controlled. I was almost a bit frustrated at halftime, thinking, well, we know that second goal is the most important moment in the game. And when Ramsey hit the bar, I don't know if Dan Burn made a good block, actually. It looked like it might have taken a deflection, I'm not too sure. But that was a massive moment in the game, because we know that they have a Callum Wilson and Almiron on the bench, and they can change it like they did against Brentford the week before. They went 1 goal down, change it, and they win the game comfortably. And I felt that was something that could happen today. But no, and that's all credit to us. We were incredibly good. All of those players were putting man of the match performances, and I haven't seen Ash's play ratings, but I think my dad said he gave Watkins a 10. Which is fair enough. Like, how can you better those performances apart from obviously more goals? But to win 3-0 against that Newcastle side is, it's an excellent achievement. And you look at the games we've got coming up, and all of a sudden you're like, well, if we do that to Newcastle, well, we could beat Brentford. We could beat the ones coming up after that. And I've said, if you can get to those last 3 games, Tottenham, Liverpool, Brighton, and you're where we are now, well, we attack those 3 games. And if you win those games, or if you don't, get beat in those games, whatever it may be of what we need, you got European football, and there we go, job done.
I think
we normally say during these. Go on, Matt.
No, I was just going to say, it feels a little bit like one of those kind of rare days when you get a journey and all the lights are on green.
Yeah,
you just keep going, and there's nothing to stop you, or there's a diversion that takes everybody who would be coming past you in a different direction. You just keep going, and I hate to kind of spoil the mood and stuff like that, but listen, whatever we achieve now, we've overachieved given when Unai came in.
Yeah.
But to sustain that with how thin our squad is, basically, it takes me a little bit back to the O'Neill time, where we had a big squad, but O'Neill didn't want to use them. So he's asking those same 13 players to go again every single week. And, let's hope that, I think that was in evidence today, where they've almost made half a team's worth of substitutions to try and change the game. And we've given Ramsey a rest so that Chambers could come on, and then we've given Duran a little run up at the end. That squad is paper thin, so maybe we have got the magic that got us on that 10-game winning run that got us back into the Premier League. Maybe we've been able to kind of bottle that and find that again. But just as much as we can enjoy this, whatever happens now, I think it's been a very, very successful last 6 months, and beyond what we could have possibly imagined, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you look ahead to the rest of the fixtures, I think the kind of mini period that we got through, like you said, it's a tight-knit squad. Everyone's playing. The starting 11 doesn't really change, apart from Dendonka coming in today through Bailey's injury. That period of Chelsea, Leicester, Forest with the 3 games in a week where we kind of climbed the league table massively because we've obviously got 9 points. That same mini period again coming up with next week with Brentford, Fulham, Man United in a week. If you kind of navigate in those 3 fixtures and get, say, 6 points out of the 9, then every game after that is a week apart, a week to prepare for that specific opponent, a week to go, right, treat that like a mini cup final. We're going to go to town on research about, and they will do this anyway, but you know what I mean? It's all full focus on next Saturday. So kind of get through this next patch of fixtures and then see where we are, I guess, before we get too carried away. It's funny you mentioned the 10-game winning run. No, I was going to mention that to you, Matt. Again, obviously, we were both there. John, you watched on TV. There's a couple of comments, by the way, saying Newcastle sounded loud on the TV. Thought they were good up until they conceded. After that, nothing. A little bit towards the end when they knew they were defeated and kind of all roused together and had a bit of a sing-song for the last 5 minutes. Very quiet once they conceded. Anyway,
I was shocked. I think we stunned the team and their fans.
Which is a big thing to do.
How full on our performance was.
Yeah, but that 10-game winning run, it kind of felt during that period. I don't know when you guys started to think, okay, we might actually do this here. But there was a point during that 10-game winning run, probably for me, like 8 or 9, I guess, or when you kind of get to the playoff semis, and it was like, we're going to get promoted this year. Like, there was no doubt in my mind that we wouldn't, the momentum that we were on, there was no doubt that we wouldn't kind of reach the final step. Once we knew we got to the final, it was like, yeah, we've got here. There's no way we kind of mess it up. But from this point, again, it's a cocky, arrogant thing to say, but momentum is such a huge thing. I kind of get the same vibes from that I do on the run now for getting into Europe, whether that's 7th, 6th, 5th, or 4th. Let's not go mental. You never know. Whether it's 7th, 6th, or 5th, you kind of think we're on such a good run to even get ourselves in the position. It's in our own hands not to mess it up. You've now got 7 games left or 6 games left or whatever it was. It's on you now to go out and win another 5 of those 7. If you can do that, you finish in Europe. That's the target. You've already come this far, so you're carrying such a huge weight of momentum with you. I don't want to say that it feels inevitable that we'll qualify for Europe, although I did say on the last Q&A we did. I think we'll finish 6th. I absolutely stand by that. I think we will finish 6th in the end and get into the Europa League, not the Conference League. It just feels like we're in it together. The atmosphere felt like we're all kind of sitting around going, we are good, aren't we? Like, this is proper now. This isn't just a bit of a blip or a few good games and we'll lose one. We're a serious football side and we are going to achieve something. It might not be this season, like you said, Matt, and it might be disappointing that we fall away a bit. But given time with this squad and this manager, Villa will achieve something soon. It just feels like we're all kind of pulling together. Do you get that same sense of optimism, or are you a little bit more long in the tooth than that?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I think as soon as I said I'd learned to ride the unicycle, if Villa got into Europe, I think I personally was doomed by then. And I think I think it was nailed on, to be honest. So I'm greeting this with trepidation these next couple of weeks. But it does feel like something special, you know. And I've said it before, I'm repeating myself, but I genuinely can't. You know, listen, we know it's been a lean time, probably for the last 12 years or more since O'Neill left, and since we were regularly competing, knocking on the door of the Champions League, regularly finishing in the European places. But I don't know, even then, when we were playing teams in the top 6, shall we say, it was still nip and tuck. You know, I don't want to base everything on one performance, but that one performance showcases everything that Emery has done, to be honest. You know what I mean? So we've seen how he's unleashed McGinn, and McGinn today against Dan Burn. You know, when people see Jesus Christ in burnt toast, you know, and they see the face of Jesus, I reckon like Dan Burn will be having his kind of naan bread tonight with his curry, and they'll be like the silhouette of the back of John McGinn kind of bodying him. I mean, how can you body a defender who's 6'4"?
I tweeted at half time and he's got him on toast. It's funny you mentioned toast.
Well, yeah, that's probably why I got toast in my head. But he was absolutely, he's unleashed McGinn. You know, Watkins. I mean, I think his third goal. Sorry, he should have been his third goal. I think the third goal was a bit spawny, to be honest, how it went in. But still,
yeah,
Watkins is a different player, and Emery was brave enough to say, "Okay, you're going to be my main man, Danny Ings. We're going to cash in on him. We can cope without him." So all over the pitch, you know, Tyrone Mings. I thought was magnificent today. The couple of moments that we got in trouble, you got us out of jail so many times, like 3 or 4 really, really crucial blocks. That's everywhere. Ashley Young's flying up the pitch, 90 minutes gone. He's 38 years old and he's flying up the pitch. He's still got room left in his tank. He could go through the whole team. I mean, I won't, but absolutely brilliant.
No, it's funny you say that because we are today. Because we always say we're not going to go through all the team. And I know you've got to finish at 6, so we've got 25 minutes maximum of podcasting here. There's 11 players. We're going to go through everybody because I feel like we need to speak a little bit about everybody and give everybody their due credit because it's a team performance what we're doing now. It's not an over-reliance on a Christian Benteke or Jack Grealish or even Ollie Watkins. Yes, he's the one sticking the ball in the back of the net, but it's a team performance that's getting us to this point. So we are going to go through the first 11 and do something a bit different and speak about each player for a little bit. We don't necessarily have to go in order, but we'll start with the keeper. Martinez, again, clean sheet. Just clean sheets coming out. Do you remember, I've seen a tweet recently on the way back from home about kind of the mocking that he had after the Arsenal game, I think, and about, oh, well, we sold him and gave away 2 goals at the end and all that. He's kept 6 clean sheets since then. That's an unbelievable record.
And that slide tackle today, did you see that slide tackle down touchline? Immaculate. I did fear, but it was immaculate. So he spots the danger before it becomes dangerous, really.
I think Pope was doing a lot of that today as well, like loads of last kind of ditch things coming out and winning a couple of headers and things like that. And it's like, well, that's kind of like peak Emi Martinez. That's what we've relied on him doing at times. But the fact that we're all kind of getting a little bit carried away with the 6 wins in 8 or 7 wins in 8 or whatever it is, and scoring goals, and Ollie Watkins this and John McGinn that, and Martinez being the root at the back of that foundation and keeping clean sheet after clean sheet is the foundation for where we are at the moment. And yeah, just you kind of have to blink a little bit. I think he made a save and gave fist bumps to the whole end, and you kind of sit back and go, he was voted the best goalkeeper in the world. He won the World Cup with Lionel Messi 3 months ago. He plays for Aston Villa and he's unbelievable.
Yeah, 1 goal conceded from open play as well in the last 8. That's
ridiculous.
That must be a record by like a few games because that's for Villa anyway. That's just insane. 1 goal from open play in 8. Yeah, he had 1 top save, didn't he? Or 1 top save that I can remember when it was Joelinton. I think he couldn't quite get out his feet, but it was still a good effort. And it was obviously a really good save from Martinez. But yeah, you go through the team and you forget that, like you look at the obvious, like McGinn, I think was excellent today, Mings as well, Watkins. But just on Martinez, he's almost that good. You forget he's there. Because if that was a goalkeeper who doesn't get as much sort of praise and credit as, as he has by winning the best goalkeeper in the world award, and he was, I don't know, let's just say Brad Guzan, we'd be going to him saying, oh, wow, look at our goalkeeper. He's so good and he's so underrated. You don't notice him. Guys, look at him. He's great. But then because it's Martinez, you almost think, well, yeah, you forget he's there in a way because he's so reliable. And you expect him to be doing these things. That's why you don't even talk about it. I think in every game, he's probably made some top saves and he's deserved those clean sheets. It's not just that we're better defensively. Well, why is that? There's obviously different reasons, but Martinez is always going to be a fundamental part of that, and obviously we know how he sets us up in terms of build-up too. He obviously plays a key role, not just making saves and claiming balls and making catches, denying opposition players. When he's running out his box, like Matt said, he's a sweeper keeper now and plays with the ball, does well for our build-up and does his main job, which is to keep the ball out of the net to a level that we don't, as Villa fans, even sort of have to appreciate anymore. We just know it's going to happen, and that's quite something to have when you're getting into the sort of back end of the season that what we've got and what we're having, to have the defensive record that we have. Newcastle have the least goals conceded in the league, even after we've beaten 3-0. But if you look at us, you think, well, wow, that Newcastle score goals for free sometimes. So yeah, it's that defensive record is the sort of bedrock of where of what we've sort of built on, and obviously scored in every game as well. So it's a good mix.
Yeah, you mentioned Ashley Young just a few minutes ago, Matt, and kind of defying age, I guess, to do what he's doing at his age. I think there was a time on the podcast, I'm not sure when, if it was the start of this season or the end of last, where I said that if you're relying on Ashley Young to be playing a lot of games in the Premier League at left back or right back at his age, you kind of go, Villa's recruitment's failed there because surely they can do better and recruit somebody better than 36, 37-year-old Ashley Young. Kind of have to hold my hands up now and say, what an idiot. To do what he's doing at his age is ridiculous. I mean, the one moment, again, that's kind of a flashback to 2008. We were talking last week about it, kind of feel, you look at the league table and go, Villa was 6th. What year am I in? I think there was a short corner play to Young on the edge of the area and he took like a curling shot and it was like, bloody hell, that was like peak 2007 winger Ashley Young, not 38-year-old right back.
Yeah,
The
on
fitness and
today's
energy and
evidence,
the kind of work rate, unbelievable.
yeah, I think we can only get another 6 or 7 years out of him on
Yeah,
today's evidence. To be
what can
honest,
you expect?
but it's funny, wasn't it? Because there's a lot being made of Anthony Gordon having that tantrum when he was taken off recently. I think he was probably glad to be taken off today because he's probably thanks. I could do with getting out of it. I've been absolutely owned by a man nearly twice my age. So now he's brilliant, and it's just I don't think you can underestimate the part that he's played. Not just on the pitch, but just that he's just so wise, and I find it really remarkable because I remember like when he signed for Villa, and he was a kid. He was like a scrawny little kid, but he seemed to have absorbed all this kind of wisdom. He's so streetwise, but he's so he doesn't make bad decisions very often for me. And considering that he's had to learn to defend. He's not a fullback by trade, but he looks like he's played there all his career. He's so comfortable there. So yeah, I'm just it was funny because I think one of the questions, when you win a prize or whatever, it was who scored on their debut at Newcastle in January 2007. I thought that's got to be Carew or Ashley Young. So I did a little bit of Googling or whatever. Ashley Young, 2007, made his debut.
It's 2023. When were you born, John?
2000.
It's just madness, isn't it? I mean, we could probably do a whole episode about something like Ashley Young, to be honest. I know that when he left, I've gone to Man United and blah, blah, and then he dived for that penalty, didn't he? And kind of there's an element of the fan base that thought, I don't like Ashley Young anymore, and why has he had to leave like that, blah, blah, blah. When he's come back, he's a fullback now, and how long is he going to last? He's only here for the kind of back end of his career. He'll probably never play. Kind of talking about Ashley Young as like Villa hero, Villa legend, whatever word you want to associate with him. What he's done over the last year or so, the kind of longevity of his career and the appearances he's put in for Villa and just in his career as a whole, just a great player. And yeah, here's me a year ago or whenever saying, if you're relying on Ashley Young, you've kind of failed your recruitment. And I'm going, Ashley was probably one of the first names on the team sheet for the defence. He's got to be in there. Mings and Konsa. Again, you sign someone like Diego Carlos in the start of the season. I think one of those will be out of the team at some point because we've signed a new centre half. Obviously, he gets injured, which changed things, but then he comes back and is fit again. And you go, well, 30 million Diego Carlos or whatever he was doesn't get in the side anyway because Konsa and Mings have improved in such a manner that, yes, we know that they've got kind of defensive capabilities and Mings will win 30 aerial duels in a game or whatever. But if they can they adapt to this playing out from the back system? Yes. Yes, they can and do it very well and keep hold of the ball in under pressure and start moves and be involved and just reliable. I think you tweeted earlier, John, about like running out of superlatives for Unai Emery. I feel like that about a lot of the squad at the moment, and it's like a very likable squad. You look around it and go, I don't think I wouldn't want to change anything because they've just got this kind of togetherness and this unity, and it's just all working fine at the moment. You don't want to tweak it too much.
Yeah.
Contra Mings, I've said unbelievable for Young and Martinez. I can't say it again, but yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, you almost wonder how did we concede goals before this?
Yeah.
When we came in, like why were we conceding goals? Because these players are clearly good enough to not concede any goals. Yeah, Konsa won all of his ground duels in the game. Made 5 recoveries, 82% passing as well, which is obviously a top performance. Mings pretty much the same, won all of his tackles and aerial duels. And this isn't just playing against, I don't know, no disrespect to team in the bottom half of the league or whatever. This is Newcastle who have got Isak, who's like 70 million, Callum Wilson, who loves to score against Villa, other players that are, just wow. 6 clearances and 4 recoveries as well for Ming. So yeah, overall, both of them just incredibly good. And as you mentioned, the way that they can adapt to how Emery's played or wants to play, in the space of 5 months. That might sound like a long time, but they haven't been asked to do that before under sort of any other manager. I know Smith tried to do it with Konsa in the Championship, but clearly that's a massive step up to the Premier League and to be doing it every game. And as we sort of mentioned against the Forest game, they tried it differently. Forest, they didn't press; they pressed the 2 pivot players and not the centre backs. So they're overcoming different challenges in every game, and most of those challenges are in that sort of phase of build up where we need to sort of get past a press or whatever it may be to then get the ball to Buendia and things like that. So that's why we were so good and so expansive today. We always had space, it felt, in the final third to cause damage. And if you go back to where does that start? Well, it's Mings taking time on the ball and picking the right pass and Konsa doing exactly the same thing. So yeah, both of them have been huge for us in this run. And without them playing to that level, we would not be winning as many games. And you can say the same about Watkins' goals, but I actually think defensively that's much more important because I think we can get goals elsewhere as well. We're not just relying on Watkins, but it all starts from them basically. And obviously defensively we've been brilliant too. So yeah, full credit to them.
And Gareth Southgate was there today, so when he's seen Conser and Mings and Watkins play like that, it's probably means Dan Burn and Callum Wilson are a shoe-in for the next squad, doesn't it? And I just, I'm the kind of Tyra Mings Appreciation Society I am, but he's phenomenal, and everybody will dig him out as soon as he makes a mistake, but he really is. I think somebody put it in the comments. He really is colossal. He's such a kind of leader and such a kind of man. And I've said it before, haven't I, about whether our players get called up for England or not. I'm not, as a Villa fan, I'm not particularly fussed because I've seen the way that story can end so many times. But for the sake of the players themselves and making sure they achieve every last drop of what they can out of their careers, I think it's a crying shame if Mings and Watkins particularly continue to get overlooked.
Talk to me, somebody, about Alex Moreno. I said a couple of weeks ago about, he's all right, but is he this good? Again, all I'm doing on this podcast today is pointing out my old takes and saying I was an idiot. Still, maybe defensively, not the best left back ever, but going forward, again, it's like having a winger. He's as good as having an informed winger on the left-hand side. So quick, so nimble, agile. His delivery is so much better than Luca Dean's. Kind of consistently, there's going to be some kind of good end ball. If he's going to run down the left and get it, he's going to put some kind of decent pass in or decent cross in. The goal against West Ham, the ball for the header for Watkins, and I think I came on after and go, it was just such a lovely goal. It was just nice. And again, he sets up Watkins today for the goal that wasn't, which again, I've still not seen back. I'm still angry about it, so I want Watkins to get that hat-trick. But then, like we said before, Watkins thinks, I'll just score another. Alex Moreno, I'll just assist another. He was involved in that goal as well. And yeah, just a smart signing, cheap, knows Emery, not that they know each other, but whenever they're talking, you can see that they're not speaking English at least. So he's like utility man on the pitch. You get my ideas across. The one that you might have looked at when we signed him and gone, firstly, who is he? Why isn't he 50 million? 13 million, boring. Like we need to make bigger signings than that. But for kind of an impact in from a January signing to come in and start at left back and be so good, so quick, consistent delivery, couple of assists already. Yeah, great. One of you just talk to me about him.
I'll have a quick go. My son, and let's not forget, he's the only real change to that first team.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, in terms of fresh players who are starting regularly. My son said to me, "Dad, do you think he's the best left back ever?" And I said, "I think he might be the greatest human being ever to grace the earth." He's so elegant to watch. There was a time 3-0 up, there wasn't much left in the game, and even then, he wasn't just going to whack the ball down the line. He was going to wait, and he's dropped his shoulder about 6 times down the in the left back area, and he's so quick and composed. And I think there's a first half as well. He was first half again, and all game. But I think he even knocked in a nifty little nutmeg on somebody before he crossed in the first half. And I think he's a special player, and it fills me with a great deal of excitement and expectation that Emery knows the players that he wants, and he knows how well they'll be able to fit into his system. And I think he epitomises that really. And I don't think he gets done that often defensively.
No. To be honest, not making it like he's a bad defender, but he's obviously going forward is his game. Yeah. There's a comment here from Richard saying every player looks a yard faster, which is what I said my first game back after having the baby. The first time I was back at Villa Park, it just felt like everyone looked fitter and looked sharper. And I said,
you were a yard faster after having the baby then? I thought that's
definitely not. Not fitter either, fatter, yes. And I wasn't sure whether that was just because I'd not been to a physical game for a few weeks and I kind of just almost forgot what it was like. But I genuinely believe that they look fitter and faster. And obviously Richard in the comments agrees with me that I'm not the only one. They just look like maybe it's because they're covering so much ground that they appear to be everywhere. But Ramsey bursting forward, Moreno bursting forward with kind of energy and purpose. They look fitter, they look quicker. I don't think that is kind of a placebo of not going to the games. It's that they have improved physically as well.
I don't know if it's just improving physically, because I'd have thought Steven Gerrard and McAllister would have been working them hard anyway, because they're the sort to do that.
I wasn't doing anything.
No, but they'd be very demanding of him. But I do think all of that comes down to the system and how we're playing. We're keeping the ball, which gives you more energy up until the 90th minute. We've got more space when we have the ball, more runs to be made. When we were playing before Emery, should we say, we were not having the ball. We were chasing the ball a lot. We were second best in most departments. This time around, we're under Emery anyway. We're keeping the ball well. We're making the runs at the right time. Ollie Watkins has probably he could probably do 2 games in a row, if that makes sense, because he's been asked to run less, actually, even though he looks like he's running more. He's running less off the ball, which means he can make more runs when we're on the ball, things like that. So I'd put it mostly down to the system. And going on Moreno as well, I don't know whether he looks like he's getting exposed sometimes when, I don't know how to put it, but in the system that he plays, he doesn't really play fullback in a way, and that sounds dumb. But when we're attacking, he's playing as a winger because Ashley Young took around and we're playing 3 at the back. So when it looks like he's been exposed, I think it's just because he's literally out of position, but he's not, because that isn't the role that he plays most of the time. Like if we lose a ball in a transition, he's going to be up the pitch anyway. But then it's a role of other players to cover around and tuck around. And if he's getting exposed and we're conceding 1 goal from open play in 8 games, then let it continue, because whatever, do you know what I mean? It's hardly like we're that's sort of root of a problem or anything like that. So Moreno was a brilliant sign, and it just gives leverage for Emery to say to the board, like, look, trust me with this one. I want to sign this striker, this midfielder, and this winger, because as you've seen by the one signing I've made, that I can do it again.
Let's push into midfield then. We've got 20 minutes left of you, Matt. Me and John, you might have to carry on just as a 2 if Matt needs to go, to be honest. We've only done 5 players out of 6. Kamara. Not having Kamara is probably the talking point, that we're still doing so well without him. If you'd have said, 6 months ago that he's our best player and it kind of makes the system tick, if you're going to be without him for a prolonged period of time, Villa will suffer. We haven't. That's great. Dendoncker comes in, slight tweak that McGinn goes a bit further forward like he was, but he's out the team through injury. Dendoncker comes in, and what was the stat, John? He's misplaced 1 pass or something. Is that what you said earlier?
Yeah, completed 33 passes.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. And maybe not this again, like a flashy signing that's come in for loads of money and expecting to do big things, but has come in and does a job when he's been asked to and consistently done so, pretty much. But him and Louise in there together, just great. Just kept things ticking, move things nicely, done what they're asked to do, and yeah, great. Like I said, I'm running out of words.
I actually think when Dendoncker's played for us, I don't remember him or recall him having a particularly bad game. I know he had that moment against Stevenage, which probably sits in most minds, but like against Brentford when we beat them 4-0, he was terrific. Man United when we beat them 3-1, again outstanding. So have him in reserve, that's quite something. And I don't know what Kamara's injury problems, or because there's been quite a few now. It's like 3 or 4 injuries that he's had since he's joined. So I don't know if he's going to be available all season, should we say. But a player like Dendoncker could be playing every game for another Premier League team. But we need to probably say to him, like, you're probably going to get your fair share of games here as well. You might not be first 11 because Kamara is that good. But, competition for places, because Kamara, does he walk back in the team? Possibly so. If Dendoncker plays 3 more games and plays extremely well, then you never know. So that was the sort of toss-up, wasn't it, before the game? It was to keep McGinn there and play Traore, or to push McGinn up, bring in Dendoncker. And Emery obviously made the right call in the end. It was just terrific again. 6 ground duels won, 4 tackles won, misplaced 1 pass. You don't need to watch the game to know how good that is against, again, a Newcastle team who have got that Bruno in midfield. Willock is everywhere. Joelinton as well, who's been outstanding all season, who will take a yellow card for anyone as well. So, yeah, really good performance from Dendoncker.
Talk to me about John McGinn, Matt. It's everywhere. Again, bringing up old shouts from previous episodes, me thinking, he's going to get sold in the summer because he's useless under Steven Gerrard. And he was poor, to be fair, but even so, to come back and again, the kind of resurgence, back into the side, captain material, absolutely everywhere, energy, just kind of typifies what That's not the right word. Kind of exemplifies. Is that the word? I don't know. That, like John McGinn is this Aston Villa side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was thinking, the fella who won the lifetime supply of Monster Energy drinks last week. I think John McGinn should have a lifetime supply of Iron Brew and just kind of keep him wired up to it. Basically, it's just, he's all action, isn't he? So you need John McGinn to set the tone in terms of tearing about. Genuinely, I thought, from what I understand, well, Newcastle defensive record evidences this as well, but Dan Burns done a decent job at left back, probably an unconventional left back, given the size of him. He looked panicked to me all the time. You could see him
not had a good afternoon, did he?
You could see him getting kind of het up because he felt that he was being kind of manhandled by McGinn a little bit and wanted some protection from the referee, I think. And I just think that I think it's credit to McGinn that he's been able to switch between those roles in recent weeks and do just as well wherever he's played. And I think was it for the third goal where McGinn's done brilliantly on the far right side to emerge with the ball? I think it was, wasn't it?
Can't remember off the top of my head.
No, I've not seen the goals back, but he's so brave in tight spaces, and I think that epitomises what Emery's all about. I can imagine, when God, I'm full of it today. When like kind of businesses take people on kind of trust courses, and you have to catch the person as they have to trust the person to catch you as you drop back. And I think Villa have got that in a footballing sense that they trust everybody. They'll give the ball into even your goalkeeper. And we know he's like Don says, we know he's a sweeper keeper. We know he's good with his feet, but you play the ball into your teammates in such tight areas. Now, to go from a half a season or a quarter of a season of catastrophe to having that kind of trust in the players alongside you is a real show of faith for the manager. They really, really believe. And I think where he's not struck lucky, because this is all by design and not by luck, he's been able to say, you trust me, this will work. I have every confidence this will work. We may have some slips along the way, but this will work. And surging from whatever position he inherited to sixth in the table, a mad Villa podcast talking about the prospect of gaining another 6 points to challenge the top four is proof of his methods. And I'm not sure that he would have been convinced that it would have happened that quickly.
No.
And so what was the question? McGinn. Yeah, love him.
It's what we said before about this kind of riding the momentum. If you were in that first couple of meetings about Emery coming in and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and if you weren't quite convinced as a player, but you've got to do it because he's your manager and you kind of trust him to improve you because what was come before hasn't worked, you'd now be thinking, Christ, this Unai Emery guy knows his stuff, doesn't he? Like we were right to trust him. We were right to kind of give our all for him because what he's done so far in what is it? Is it 18 games now? That's still it's not even half a Premier League season. That's still a relatively short space of time in football. And he'd done these changes 15 games ago. Like we were doing this from the off, and it was working pretty much straight away. So you'd just be looking around going, we're doing this, aren't we? Like we're all very good at football again. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I said at the start about like whether the players will feel this is obviously different. As a fan, I look around and go the fixture list and think we feel unbeatable. I'll take on anyone. I'm not bothered. I'd like to think the players will think the same because they know that the guy who's telling us what to do knows his stuff. It's working on the pitch. We've got this many results. If we keep doing that and we all buy in and we trust each other and we trust our teammates and we be a good teammate, to quote Dean Smith's old mantra, this will work. It has this feeling of inevitability about it just because of what we've done so far. Just keep ticking away and it will keep working.
Well, that's how you get buy-in.
So, John, what did your man say on the podcast recently from the McGrath podcast? Secret sauce, was it? Emery's secret sauce. I think the phrase that he used, and I think it's a bit like it's such a leap of faith that what he's asked them to do in terms of the way that he wants them to play and be brave in tight space and stuff like that. It's almost like his secret sauce. It's kind of if you stick a bit of lemon curd and a bit of Marmite and a bit of WD-40. That's the perfect way to make your macaroni cheese. And they're like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? Do you know what I mean? But they've baffled them. And they're like, actually, wow, this is amazing. Anybody at home, don't stick WD-40 in your macaroni cheese. But this is amazing. Do you know what I mean? And they've had to go with him on that journey. But now they're thinking, Christ, how didn't we know that before? And now we do know that. We can do great things.
Yeah, that's a better way of. Weirdly, that was a better way of explaining it than I did it. John, Jacob Ramsey comes in for a bit of flack every so often. That I think we did a post or something the other day about he'd got 80 odd Premier League appearances and 8 goals, whatever it was, and what a player. And some people go, "Oh, he's not that great. He's overrated. Is he really this good, etc." When he is good, and yes, he's going to go through kind of fits and spurts. When he is good, I thought he was unplayable at times this afternoon, bursting forward with the ball, kind of winning everything. Obviously, he takes his goal very well as well. Just a key cog in the midfield and bringing the ball forward from our defensive third into the attacking third.
Yeah, he plays a key role, doesn't he? At 21 as well. I think he's near to his 100th appearance. I think that must be coming up very soon in terms of Premier League. I said he's living the dream. Like, imagine doing that, 100 appearances, playing a key role for Villa as we try and get into the top 6. Outstanding. I think, again, the way that he moves, the way he can carry the ball, we don't have that in the team if it isn't him. I know McGinn can carry the ball and do it in a different way, but Ramsey has that sort of ability to drive with it and really go for it. That goal he scored against Norwich last season when he took it from the halfway line, that epitomises what he can do when you give him an opportunity and space to run into. I think that's, again, why he suits this system so well, because there's always space and players to find. He can't not have a good game if he gives it his all. He's always going to find a key pass. He's always going to find a shot, and he can obviously score from there. So, yeah, another top performance from him. Again, one pass that he didn't complete, and that was 25 out of 26 passes, a goal, 100% accurate long balls as well. I think, again, that big moment that he had, he could have got 2 goals, but at 21, to be doing what he's doing, to think where he could be in the space of 2 years before he's even 25, he's got serious potential. And again, I think it may be one of those where, because we have quite a lot of good players now, we don't probably put as much, and it's probably a good thing that we don't put as much pressure on him, but I think if he was in the team instead of a Jack Grealish when we got promoted or something like that, there'd be a lot of expectation on him to try and take games by the scruff of the neck and that sort of stuff. But instead, it's almost better for him that he's developed in a Villa team that is progressing so well that there isn't as much, as I say, pressure on him to perform every game. Because if he doesn't, then that's fine, because we can bring on a different player and we can, rely on Ollie Watkins or McGinn or someone else to get goals. So he can almost do his thing, and to do what he's doing, as I say, at his age is really good. And Unai Emery is the perfect man to get it out of him in terms of what he can produce in the coming years. But that's how you're going to get buy-in from players when it's going well. As you were saying earlier about what we're trying to do, the players are only going to continue to improve, because if you're going to be sitting down for like 3 hours every day watching or analysing performances in their big cinema room in Bodymore, if you're going to get results with it, then the players are going to take every bit of knowledge from it, if that makes sense. If we weren't getting results, then that would be difficult. But because those players are working with a manager who they've never worked with before in terms of that level, it's only going to continue as it is. And Emery bringing in his own players, so that group of players plus the ones he'll bring in are all going to be learning with him. That bodes well for the future.
Yeah, and a good weekend for the Ramsey family, with Aaron Ramsey scoring for Middlesbrough last night. And every so often you'll hear someone go, Aaron Ramsey's actually the better Ramsey brother. So that bodes well. Consider what Jacob's up to.
Dan, I don't know overhype either of them, but I do actually think they're going to be the first brothers to win the World Cup with England since the Charltons in 1966. But we'll see. One game at a time.
There's a comment here quickly. We'll come back to the players in a second. I know, Matt, you are running out of time. From John, he said, Ming said during the week in that interview with Sky, I think, that Emery tweaks things early in the week and his ideas only become apparent later in the week. And they all kind of go, oh, that's why we were doing so and so. That's what I was saying before about just buy into whatever he does, and then we'll see the fruits of it afterwards.
It's like one of them magic eye puzzles that they don't. It doesn't make sense until it does.
Right angle.
Yeah.
You are going to have to go in a second, Matt. But talk to me about Ollie Watkins. I don't know what else I can say about him that hasn't already been said before, but what Emery's done to transform him into this lethal finisher now that will even score a scuff goal rather than just scuffing it back to the goalkeeper. Yeah, I loved as well. It's so annoying that second. I'm still annoyed about it. The second goal that he should have had that was ruled out. I loved his celebration for that. Don't know whether you could see it from where you were, but he was just like, "I just calm down, everyone. Like, I know I'm good. Like, calm down." I love that.
Calm down. Yeah, I was going to get me. I still haven't seen that back, but it looked like a.
They put it on the big screen, didn't they? Which they don't normally do, and the lines looked on top of each other from miles away from where I'm seeing it. It looked very tight. I don't know whether you can explain better, John.
It was literally like just overlapping it. It come up as just a red. It looked quite clearly offside at first, but then if you take into consideration like the angle and stuff, you were thinking, oh, actually, they might just be on. But no, it was literally like just overlapping.
I think Watkins looks like, it sounds like I'm being harsh to him before, but he looks like a proper centre forward to me now. He kind of, bullied two of the best centre halves on this year's evidence in the league, and just the way he's prepared to just open. Sometimes I think he'd have taken shots earlier rather than try to manoeuvre an extra couple of touches and find the space and find a better shooting angle. I thought he was unlucky. What was it? 30 seconds in when he
hit the post.
I thought he's still. It's amazing, and it's the cliche, but confidence is such a pivotal thing for a footballer, and you can just see it. He's jumping higher, he's running faster, he's working harder. None of these things are probably true, but you just feel like you said, that celebration, albeit cut short. It's a man who knows. He knows. He's finding more about himself. He's finding more about his potential as a player, and he's finding that even he's kind of, what is he, 26, something like that. That his ceiling can go much higher. To be honest, because he's improved massively in the last 3 or 4 months. If he continues doing that, I don't know where is he in the goal scoring charts in the Prem. I know he's not a Haaland or a Kane, but he must be in the top 10, hasn't he?
Seen on the way back that he's got the most goal contributions in 2023. I think he's got 14 goals and assists, and like Kane or De Bruyne or whoever have got I think the next place was 11 goal contributions. So he's the most informed goals and assist maker in 2023.
It was interesting, because I sit up in the top of the Trinity, and there was loads of people, because he did the post-match interview, didn't he? Because he got man of the match. Him and Ramsey were staying to be interviewed by BT. Loads of people stayed for another 2 or 3 minutes just so they could salute him off the pitch. And you could see he was loving it. He was absolutely buzzing off it. And good luck to him, because he's not always been the flavour of the month necessarily, has he? So let's hope that this is the start of something really good.
He's on 14 now, which puts him 5th in the top scorers in the league. Marcus Rashford's got 15, Ivan Toney's got 18, Kane 23, and Haaland, the freak, on 30. But you will back, Ollie Watkins will back himself as well to go, we've got 7 games left. I can score at least 7 goals, because I know I can score a goal in every game, so I can finish on 20, 21. So he's matched his best record for. He's got 14 in his first season. I think he's got more assists this season than he did in his first as well. So this is technically, if we didn't already know, his best season goal-wise for Villa. And performances, he looks like you said, Matt, not to try to disrespect him before, but a proper centre-forward now who you would back to. If he goes one-on-one now, you go, he'll score. 6 months ago, you go, where's Danny Ings? We need Danny Ings to finish that chance because Watkins won't score it. Buendia as well. Kind of a little bit of an unsung hero in the system, playing off the right-hand side, always in that kind of half space that people like to call it, being able to receive the ball a little bit deeper and head up and make things happen, and doesn't always necessarily end in a goal or an assist. But again, when we talked about 11 individuals here, I hope we have anyway. I think Buendia was the last one, but he's the key cog as well, like Ramsey is, and McGinn is over here, and Douglas Luiz is down there. Buendia is doing his thing further up the pitch to make it work overall. So it might not necessarily be notching up his own figures, but he's still a pivotal point to the side.
Yeah, he isn't necessarily getting the sort of numbers that he was getting when he was at Norwich or whatever, but he plays that key role, that almost sort of pre-assist role, if that makes sense. So he'll collect the ball on that half space, as you say, Dan, and then a little through ball or whatever it may be, third most through balls in the Premier League last year. So that's the sort of player he is. He likes to be the someone who can occupy those spaces and play those telling passes that can create opportunities, whether that's to Moreno down the wing, who then plays it across and gets the assist himself, or, as we saw today, the amount of space that was vacated behind the Newcastle midfield between their defensive midfield. Buendia was always in that pocket. So again, I think that was a good tactical tweet by Emery, because he didn't receive it as deep this week or today. Buendia, he would receive it a bit further forward, which was a good tweet because he would get on the ball, turn, Watkins is gone, other players are gone, McGinn's tucking inside. So another key contribution, key movements, and again, defensively too, he always puts himself about, doesn't he? 1-5 ground duels, Buendia. So yeah, really good performance, and that is, he almost epitomises the sort of hard work that we need to get those results and that flair that we need to win games. So yeah, really like him.
I keep hearing crown jewels when you say ground jewels. Don't know why.
Got cold.
Matt, I know you've got to go in a second. Any kind of weird random shout outs or other topics you want to talk about before you depart? Because I think we can probably do another 10 minutes or so with you, John.
Not really. The only thing is just to say thanks for the feedback that we've had on the just plug the Hutton thing, really, because we've had a lot of people watching it or listening to it, but a lot of positive feedback as well. People saying that it's weird, isn't it, Hutton? Because what a story to tell, and fair play to him. He was down from Glasgow just last weekend to do co-coms on the Forest game. So Ashley Preece was the opportunist that he is, managed to get him to the hotel in Dorridge last week for a chat. I think I probably apologise to Ash because I think I kind of gate crashed it a little bit and hardly let Ash get a word in edgeways, but we did let Hutton get a word in edgeways, and just the honesty and the good humour and self-deprecation and the love of Aston Villa. Who'd have thought that he'd have, people know the Alan Hutton story, but if you don't, I'll drop a link in the comments. But who'd have thought he'd have had, given how it went and given how he was treated in the first couple of years, to emerge with his kind of cult hero status intact was as a credit to him, and it was just a pleasure to sit down and listen to him take us all through it. So I think you're sticking another video out, aren't you, in the next couple of days from it?
Yeah, it's tomorrow. There's a clip about just the Blues goal. Some of it is like a 2-minute extract from the longer podcast we've already done, but I held a little bit back as well. So there's new Alan Hutton content dropping tomorrow morning, specifically about the Blues goal. Just quickly before I let you go, the thing about the Hutton thing that struck me, I wasn't expecting. Obviously, I didn't film it. Jacob filmed it, a freelancer for us. So I wasn't in the room at the time and didn't get to meet him and see what he was like off camera. So I was expecting to be quite serious, and obviously talking about a long period of his time was crap. So maybe kind of get deep into the bad things of Lambert and Remy Gard and relegation, and be a bit downbeat and very kind of, it's a horrible cliche, but kind of like the dour Scotsman, Paul Lambert. I'm just going to be very serious and go kind of thing. Surprisingly funny he came across, which I wasn't expecting. Not to say, Hutton's this miserable guy, because I don't know that at all, but that's how my kind of preconception. The fact that he was getting involved in jokes with you guys as well, and kind of the self-deprecating thing. It's kind of like he got what we wanted from the podcast. He understood that there's a bit of humour to be had. It's not this kind of serious football chat. We can kind of branch off and have a laugh as well. And yeah, that kind of took me by surprise that he was so open and honest and friendly, happy guy kind of thing.
Yeah, I did worry that he was going to disappear after I serenaded him within the first 30 seconds. I thought, have I pushed it too soon? And he gave me a slightly awkward look while I was singing at him. But no, it was spot on. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, go and check it out. I think hopefully you won't be disappointed. While you're there, give us a subscribe as well.
Yes, that'd be lovely. It's gone 6 o'clock, so you're going to jump off?
I'm going to go.
More bits for John.
Go and bugger off out for me tea. So yeah, brilliant day. Loved it. I'll see you all soon up the Villa.
Nice one. Cheers, Matt. I'll let yourself out. Bye. The last thing I wanted to mention was about where this side can go. I mentioned at the start about kind of riding this crest of a wave of, I keep using that phrase, it's going to get old very quickly. But this momentum, it feels like something's going to happen. And there was one point during the match where I was reminded of our episode that you and me did about the 5 steps to Europe, and our fourth point of let him cook. And I was just like, yeah, let him cook. This guy he's unreal, Emery. I can't almost quite believe that he is at our club and he's doing what he's done so far. So we've had many conversation over the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, about what Villa can go on to achieve this season. Can they get into the top 8? Can it be top 7? Can it be top 6? It's almost madness to even say that are we in the contention for the Champions League places. So I don't want to kind of dwell on it too much. But you look at Spurs dropping points today in 5th. We've still got to play them. Man United only 6 points ahead of us. Yes, they've got 2 games in hand, but we've still got to play them. I know it's funny, but we've got to mention it. Newcastle, again, they've played 1 less game than us, but we beat them today in such a manner that you have to take stock and sit up and go, that wasn't a smash and grab. It wasn't a lucky counter-attack. We dominated them and beat them and deserved to win. So I don't want to say, yes, Aston Villa are in the race for top 4. It needs Newcastle, Spurs and Man United to fall away, and we need to beat Man United and Spurs to make up points on them that weekend. However, the race for the European kind of football positions, 6th and above, is definitely in Villa's hands now because they are the form team one of the best form teams in the league, but the form team out of Newcastle, Man United, Spurs, Brighton. So what do you think is the level of achievement this season? Do you still think 7th is where we'll end up? Any higher than that? Is 4th ridiculous? Well, finishing 4th is ridiculous, but talking about it, if we continue the way we are, isn't. It's only 6 points. We made up 9 points in a week when we beat Leicester, Forest and Chelsea. It's not mental, but it is.
6 points. Is it 6 points now? 6 points now. United have got 2 games in hand and we play them. So that looks a bit of a long shot to overtake United, I think, because we'd have to win all of our games. They'd have to slip a few times and lose to us. Newcastle they've got a game in hand, which would be 6 points if they win that, because we've just beat them today. So Newcastle would be the ones that would have to overtake, I think, even though we play United, because United have got games in hand, like 2 of them, I think.
They are involved in a lot of competition still, whereas Villa aren't.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. And now I've got injuries as well, United. So I think if we were to get top 4, we'd have to pretty much win every game, maybe drop a point or 2, if that. And yeah, you're looking at it.
We're not going to win like 14 games in a row.
That's the thing. Like, you look at it and think, well, we've won 7 of the last 8. Why can't we do that again? But we know football doesn't work like that. And as I said before, we'd be breaking every record in existence of what we've got in the Premier League if we were to do that. And yeah, I'd love to dream, but I don't think it'll happen. I think top 6 is definitely the aim. That's what Emery said as well. He said that was like the new target. I'm not too sure if it's new, but I think he means like in his head anyway, we've got top 10. And I think that's probably about right now. We can probably settle on that, which is a fantastic achievement in general, considering where we've come from. But now he's kind of saying that, oh yeah, European qualification, that is the target now. So if we don't get it, he'll be a bit annoyed. You know, it's kind of a bit of a shift from where he was a couple of weeks ago when he said, we are in there if we win the next few games, and because we have, now we are. So yeah, top 6 will be the target. I think Brighton are the ones really that I'd be worrying about. They've got 2 games in hand on us, and I know we play them at the last game of the season, but they're a top team, as we are, but they've been doing it all season, and that's what worries me a little bit. They've got the consistency there, and I know we're hitting it at the right time, but I think they're a very good team. Tottenham are there, but I'm not particularly worried about them. I think Tottenham could drop out of the top 7, to be honest, the way that they're going. Liverpool could finish with us and Brighton in the top 7, and Tottenham could drop out, and obviously we play Spurs as well. So I think it's a good thing that we have the games that we have coming up, because in terms of that last 3, because all 3 of those teams could be like a little mini, us, those 4 teams, us, Spurs, Liverpool, Brighton, in those last 3 games, we play them all. If we can get positive results out of those, happy days. Would probably be in Europe, wouldn't we, if we got the results we need? I said Newcastle and Brentford would be the sort of, those are the games you have to get results out of, because we don't want to then go into the last 3 games of the season and think, oh, what could have been, because we've got results, but we didn't against Newcastle and Brentford. We've got the one against Newcastle comfortably and quite easily. It's Brentford next week, again, another big challenge, but one that you look at and think, well, they lost today, if I'm not mistaken, against Wolves 2-0. They're on a bit of a patchy run of form themselves, so we're the favourites to win that game all of a sudden. I wonder how we sort of cope with that mentality of going to a team that have been better than us, or I know we beat them 4-0, but they've been good for most of the season. I wonder how we go to a place like that, like we did against Chelsea in a way, and cope with it, because Brentford are good at home. And then the games after that, Wolves, Fulham, you look at those and think, well, those are games that we should be winning. And Wolves will be tricky. Fulham will be tricky as well for different reasons, home and away. But judging on our form, there's no reason why we can't win those games. And then you go into your last 3. So yeah, it's all to play for still, and there's a lot of games to play. There's 7 left, and there isn't a massive space between us and the teams below us at all. But in the form that we're in, I don't know what the betting odds are, but we should be. I think if a neutral was deciding, you'd probably put Villa in there, wouldn't you?
I still will stand by what I said whenever it was last week or the week before. I think 6th is where Villa will end up finishing, which is still an unbelievable achievement considering we were months ago. Never mind where we were a couple of years ago and in the Championship and all that. This season, we were awful. The fact that we're even talking about the European places, and that, yes, we're not saying that before it gets clipped up or in comments with Newcastle fans going, oh, they think they can get in the Champions League. We don't think that. But the fact that we're 6 points behind the Champions League places in the middle of April, that in itself isn't an achievement to be in these conversations at all. Yeah, when Sky or whatever showed the top 6 or the top 7, we're in that now and comfortably in it. That should be celebrated in itself. But having said that, to actually finish in the European places is the achievement. If we fell away now and finished 10th, whatever anyone says, we would all be disappointed, because as much as mid-table is fine, it's in our hands now to keep winning, and we will get Europe. It's as simple as that. We're in the places now. Keep winning. You'll do it. There's 7 games left. And like I said before, I will look at anyone in that fixture list and go, do I think we're going to win the next 7 and win 14 from 15? No, because that's not how football works. Even Man City and Arsenal and Real Madrid and Barcelona or whoever don't do things like that. Do I look at those fixtures and go, can Aston Villa beat that team on that day? Yes, of course I do. I back them to win every single game. I back someone like Ollie Watkins to score every single game. So is it possible? Yeah, of course. Is it realistic? No. Do I think we can finish 6th? Yes. Am I going to keep asking myself questions? No. But yeah, that, like I said, even just to be in this conversation at this point in the season is brilliant. We're not talking about, oh, Villa in the top 6 in November. It's now, it's where it's important.
Yeah, and it's the way you said that's quite mad. Could Villa qualify for the Champions League and we're coming towards the end of April? Yeah, they could. And we don't think it will.
Could, yeah.
But to be in... We're not
25 points away with 25 points to play for. We're 6 points away with 21 points to play for.
We could feasibly be one of the best 4 teams in the league. If not, we might be the 6th. But I'll take that. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, my mentality was, if we didn't get Europe, then it's okay, because next season we've clearly got a platform to work off and stuff like that. But that was because we were beating teams that we were the favourites to beat. And I know winning any Premier League game is an achievement in its own right, but when we were beating teams like Leicester, who will probably go down this season, I think they're 3-0 down and it's not in half time against City. I mean, to be fair, that's a free hit, it doesn't matter. And other teams like that have been struggling, like Forest, etc. I always looked at Newcastle and I thought, well, that is the acid test. How far have we come? And my whole sort of complexion on the last 7 games of the season will depend on Newcastle. And we've completely wiped the floor with them. So I can't sit here and say that I wouldn't be disappointed if we don't finish in Europe now, because I probably will, because based on that performance and what's come before it, there's absolutely no reason why we can't beat Brentford. And again, we're probably not going to win every game, but amass an amount of points that gets us to European football is what I should probably say. We can do that 100%. And if we don't, it will be a bit like, almost like an opportunity wasted. And it won't be anything in terms of a reflection on anyone, because we're, again, to get top 10, to do what we've done, proves that next season we can do this over the course of a season, which is fantastic, like what Newcastle have done this season. But yeah, it will be a bit of a frustration, I think, across the fan base if we don't do it now, because of today, of what we've proven that we can do and what we are capable of. We're not just able to beat teams that are below us or equal or not as good, maybe, or not in as good form. Newcastle have won 5 games in the Premier League. They're 3rd. They don't concede goals. They don't lose games. We've thrown that all out today, and we've just beaten 3-0. Could be more, and we've bullied them. So, yeah,
I'm just glad that the prediction I made on match week 19, whatever game that was and whatever podcast it was, when there was still talk about are Villa going to end up in a relegation scrap at some point? Is Emery the real deal, etc., etc.? And we were going, come on, let's not even talk about relegation. We've got 25 points from 19 games, and I sat there and, bravely or not, said we will definitely get to 50 points. Because Emery is a genius, effectively. That's how you would look at it with hindsight, considering the job he's done. So the fact that we are on now 50 points, still with 7 games to go, gives me some kind of like ego boost to go, yes, I finally got a prediction right after several bad ones. If you can get another 10 points from the remaining 21, which is less than Emery's average of 2 points a game, let's not forget, that'll get you to 60, which is around the mark you need for top 6. If you get, I think we'll win 4 or 5 games from the 7 left. I don't know against who. I don't know in what order. We might lose 2 and then win 5. But I think if we win 4 or 5 games and get to 60, winning 5 will get you another 15, which will put you on 65. If you can get to 63, 65, it's a guaranteed top 6. Is it enough to get you to 5th or 4th? Probably not. 5th, though, bypasses the qualification stage, doesn't it, for the Europa League, puts you straight into the group stage. That's how it used to be, at least, anyway. So, internally, if you aim for 6th, aim for 5th, because there's not a fat lot of difference between the two anyway, points-wise. So I think if you win 4 or 5 out of the remaining 7, that's European football secured. And again, the fact that that's even the conversation, 4 weeks ago when we were playing Chelsea and we were level on points, it was beat Chelsea and 10th is secured and a top-half finish. And what an achievement that will be. Villa haven't done that for 10 odd years. we're all kind of forgotten about that. Like, we won't finish in the bottom half now. So if that was the aim for the season, finish top half, that's done and dusted with 7 games to go easily. So win another 4 or 5 games. Destiny is in your own hands to an extent. Take points off the teams around you. You've got to beat a Brighton or Spurs or somebody like that. They will drop points at some point as well, as we all will. And yeah, I'll stick with what I said before. 6th place for Villa, I think, is where we'll finish.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, as you say, it was like it wasn't long ago that we were saying, weren't we, like we're in 11th again after winning, and
yeah,
that it feels like a long time ago now, considering what we've been doing. Yeah, so Brentford away. Well, I mean, the away games we have: Brentford away, Man United away, Wolves away, Liverpool away. I think that's a tough run of away games, is what I'd say. I think Fulham at home, Tottenham at home, Brighton at home. I think we can win all of those because Fulham aren't playing for much. Apart from a top half, but come on, we can beat them. Spurs, and Brighton on the last day. If we need to win that game or not, or avoid defeat or whatever it may be, you'd back us to do that in front of home fans.
Yeah.
I think it's the away form that's going to carry us into Europe or not. So it's almost a good thing, considering I know we've been good home and away recently, but obviously the away form is even better than the home form, which says a lot. So
yeah,
judging on that, you think, well, there's every chance that we do it. I still think it's going to be an almighty task. I still have the mentality of being the underdog in each and every one of those games, and apart from like a Fulham and Wolves. But you look at Brentford away and think, oh, that's tough. Yeah, we can win it, but will we? United away, tough. Wolves away, tough. Liverpool away, Anfield, it's tough. All of those games come with trepidation for me still. But that Newcastle result was a massive one, because if we didn't get 3 points there, you'd be behind Brighton. You'd be around where Liverpool are now with their games and that they've got on us. So it was a win that, again, it's only 3 points, isn't a lot of points when it's so congested like where we are. But in the course of the next 7 games, we can keep nicking those wins, and not nicking the wins. We battered Newcastle, but I mean, keep ticking them off. We'll be where we want to be. And yeah, it's just crazy the turnaround that we've been on. How many points did you say, Dan, that do you think we're going to get?
I think we'll win at least 4 games, and I think we'll maybe draw 1. So I'd put us on. We're on 50 now. Winning 4 would be 12. So that's 62. I'll say 63. 63 points to finish.
To be fair, I don't know what amount of points gets you top 4, top 6, or whatever, or even wins you the title, because we haven't been there for like 13 years.
I don't think we'll win the title, mate.
No, but just in general at the top end of the Premier League, I don't know what. All I ever known was the 40-point mark. If you look at, if we get 4 wins out of the next 7, that isn't, wherever those wins come from, because I'm just looking on a page where it has so many green wins. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of the law of averages, you would think that if we got 4 wins and drew a couple of games, that's almost us playing at I don't know how to put it, but that's not us playing at our best, if that makes sense. Because
our best is going unbeaten in 8, but we won't go unbeaten in whatever 8 plus 7 is 15. We won't go unbeaten in 15 games in the Premier League. It's impossible for Aston Villa to do that, and I'm going to say that on record in the hope that I'll look stupid in 8 games time and go, oh, I've got a clip here of us going unbeaten in 15. We will drop points because, like you said, there were some tough games in there, and we are getting ahead of ourselves with the hypotheticals. And we'll be a certain group of people, whether it's Newcastle fans or Villa fans, that will be in the comments at some point saying these guys are getting carried away, why they're talking about top 4, why they're talking about top 6, whatever it is. Wherever we finish now is an achievement, and whether we're disappointed or not at the end of the season is relative to you as an individual. I still think that 6th is very much in our hands at this point, whether people got games in hand or not. The fact that I saw a thing on this morning, I think it was, of like the fixture difficulty of all the sides in the league left, and Villa were at the top for the most difficult fixtures. What does that mean, though? Newcastle are one of the form teams, and so are we, and we've absolutely wiped the floor with them today. So what classes are a difficult fixture? Man United away. Okay, well, so what? You play any team on the day, and it's a 90-minute football match, that anything can happen. And I trust that Emery sets us up in the correct way, and almost has this kind of cup final mentality of it. It's a one-off game. Forget about the other 6 around it. We go there to Old Trafford. We prepare in this way. We do this. We stick to our principles. I would back us to beat absolutely anybody, and that's the kind of achievement, I guess, that we have to focus in on, whether we finish in the European places or not. It's that Villa have transformed from a relegation candidate, potentially, to a side that goes, if you were watching Aston Villa as the opposition coming to Villa Park and playing the way we do, you go, Christ, I wish we played like them. I wish we did stuff like that. Why don't our players do things like that? We're a proper football team now, and that's the achievement.
Yeah. And in that sort of run of form that we've been on, it's we've done well in 8 games, but only Arsenal have got more points than us in 18 games. Like, that's to be the second best team in the league over the course of nearly 20 games. That's quite good. So, like what you mentioned, the kind of fixture difficulty and stuff, and as you say, there teams are going to be playing us and looking at us as a fixture, thinking, I don't want to play Villa. They're literally the second best team in the league over 20 games, or third, or whatever it is with City. I don't know, but give or take. And to do what we've done on Newcastle, it's like a proper statement. Like, we've left a calling card there. That's what we're capable of. With, as we were saying earlier, +1 player from January. Like, we haven't even added to the squad yet. So it almost feels like it's all a bit too good. And at some point, the balloon will burst and we might lose to Brentford. But that doesn't matter, because if we win all of our games and the rest of the season,
lose to Brentford, win the other 6.
Yeah, we probably would get top 4 if we win every game. And again, I don't think that will happen. But that's proof of how far we've come in terms of we can afford to drop points and still get top 6.
Yeah.
Spurs at home, Brighton at home, whatever it may be, lose to Liverpool, lose to Man United, beat Wolves, draw to Fulham, whatever it is, that sort of run of fixtures would probably still get you top 7 or 6. So, yeah, it's to say the turnaround's been incredible, and there's a lot of parallels between us and Newcastle in terms of they were taking over. So when Eddie Howe went in last season, they lose to like a League 2 club in the FA Cup. You think, what's going on here? And then they have a big turnaround, finish top half, I think, or 10th, something like that. And they're having the season they're having now. Much is the same as what we've done under Emery. So next season, you're thinking, well, we should be aspiring to be as high as possible. And the next 7 games, it's all a game at a time. But in-house, the aspirations for next season, whether we're in Europe or not, will be to be a top 6 team again. And you don't know where it's going to take you after. If you can, knowing that we can win 7 of 8 games, then you can probably win 9 of 10, 11 of 13, or whatever it may be. And that's, to do that over the course of a season, it will take you far. So, it's just, incredible run so far. And then next season, there's lots to look forward to. So, really pleased about it.
There was one random moment I wanted to mention when Matt was on here, because he would have seen it. I don't think you'll have seen it on TV, because the chances that the TV coverage was showing Unai Emery at the specific moment is probably quite slim. But if you did spot it, let me know. Same to the comments as well, to be fair. Towards the end of the second half, and there's loads of chants going around. The atmosphere is great, obviously, because we're winning. There's a big kind of chant for Emery being serenaded. Emery's Can't Be Army, I think it was, ringing around the ground. And I think we were setting up for a corner or to defend a free kick. And Emery's he's setting up for the free kick. But as the chant kicks in, he's going like this. And it looks like he's like dancing along to his song. We weren't seeing it on TV, but they're going, Emery's Can't Be Army, and he's like this on the touchline, going like this. It was perfect time, and everyone around where we were sitting were like, it looks like he's, I don't think anyone else would have seen that, but just a funny moment. The last thing I wanted to mention is a very quick shout out, which isn't a funny moment, so I really shouldn't have put these 2 segments together. But it's for Tom, who sent me a DM just before we started, saying hopefully this message reaches you before the Newcastle podcast. I was wondering if you could do a shout out for my newborn son, Freddie, who's currently in Birmingham's Children's Hospital recovering from surgery. He sent me a picture of him in his little Villa hat and in hospital with a blanket and stuff. But he said the nurse who was treating him today, her surname was Emery. It felt like the universe was trying to tell me Villa would win. He went in for surgery on Tuesday, and now he's out of intensive care and back on the neonatal ward and on the road to recovery. It's been a worry, as you can imagine, but we are getting there. So I wanted to give a shout out to Tom and his family, he'll be listening to the podcast at some point. Maybe in the hospital. Fair play to you, Tom, if you are. But yeah, best wishes to you and the family. It must be a really difficult thing to go through, and I'm sure that people watching along and Villa fans will be offering our support to you as well, because it must be a really nasty time. As I said, Tom, shouldn't have put that next to the jokey Emery bit to end the podcast. Well, I'm sure if you are a fan of the podcast, you'll realise that this is what the show is. But yeah, hopefully little one gets well soon. John, thank you for joining me this evening, as always. Thanks to Matt for appearing on earlier as well, who's off to somewhere in the West Midlands area for some tea. Good podcast. Enjoyed it. Just nice to be talking about Villa in these conversations, whether we get into the top 5, top 6, top 4, whatever it is, to be here at this stage of the season, that's the achievement, and it gives you the excitement of where can we go this time next year? Are we in the top 4 race? Who knows? So thanks everyone for watching. Will be another Alan Hutton podcast video on Sunday, probably Sunday morning. The big Alan Hutton podcast was on Thursday. It was 1 hour and 22 minutes, I think. Go and watch it. Trust me, it's absolutely brilliant. And I'm not just saying that because it's our thing. It's our podcast. I watched that. So I wasn't there on the day filming it. I watched that through as you would have watched it as a supporter, and it was absolutely world class. One of my favourite podcasts we've done. Do go and check that if you haven't watched it. Make time for it. It's worth it. The second video is 5 or 6 minutes long, and it's about the Blues goals, a little segment from the main podcast, but some of it I kept kind of separately to do I scored against Birmingham City, and this is how I felt as the title, or whatever it ends up being. So keep an eye on that tomorrow. Monday, we're doing something about the Villa women's side, who play in their FA Cup semi-final tomorrow as well on Sunday against Chelsea. So best luck to the Villa women as well. We'll talk about that on Monday, whether they get to the final or not. Again, bit like Villa where they are at the moment, worth celebrating. It's an achievement to do as well as they're doing so far. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. We have uploaded a video every single day in April so far, and so far we've got no kind of signs of slowing down, and the aim is to keep posting stuff because people are watching it, people are enjoying it. So we're going to aim to keep being consistent and post videos every day where we can. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again with the Alan Hutton podcast tomorrow, Villa Women Monday, and then don't know what's happening Tuesday, but we'll work it out. So thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. As always, cheers John, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your thoughts and comments. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.